Blue Monday is a song that was never supposed to be performed live. It was built piece by piece on unreliable technology, and it even lost factory records thousands of dollars on every sale. And yet, Blue Monday became the best-selling 12-inch single of all time and changed electronic music forever. Today, we are exploring how New Order pulled this track off, and we're going to recreate it using some of the original gear mixed with modern software. In the early 80s, Manchester factories were closing and the economy collapsed. But inside the city's underground clubs, something was happening. A generation of musicians, shaped by post-punk and fascinated by electronic music, was pushing boundaries. And at the center of it all was New Order. After the tragic loss of Ian Curtis, Joy Division's remaining members, Bernard Sumner, Peter Hook, and Stephen Morris, had a choice: continue as they were or reinvent themselves. Inspired by Kraftwerk, Giorgio Moroder, and the emerging sounds of New York clubs, they chose to dive into electronic music. What they wanted was to build something completely different. A track driven by machines, designed for dance floors, and structured like no other song before it. Bernard Sumner talked about his shift to electronic music. "We were getting bored with guitars, so we decided to go electronic. But we didn't know how to do it properly, so we ended up doing it in a very strange way. To understand Blue Monday, we need to understand its machines." This wasn't a band playing instruments in the traditional sense. It was a group of musicians commanding technology to create something human. For the drums, the Oberheim DMX was the backbone of Blue Monday, a rigid mechanical drum machine somehow affordable with separate outputs for each sound. New Order used this to sync every element together, making the song feel more like a programmed system than a live performance. The Moog Source, a monosynth, generated the pulsing bassline. Instead of playing it live, they sequenced it. This was a technique borrowed from Kraftwerk and early electronic musicians. Stephen Morris speaks about their lack of electronic music production knowledge. "We wrote it on a machine that played one note at a time. That's why it sounds the way it does. It was a nightmare to program, but that was part of its charm." Peter Hook speaks about the song's structure. "We didn't know how to write a song properly, so Blue Monday ended up as a track with no real verses or choruses, just sections that keep evolving. When Blue Monday hit the clubs, it wasn't like anything people had heard before: a hypnotic beat, mechanical precision, and an emotional core. It became the best-selling 12-inch single of all time. Designed by Peter Saville to resemble a floppy disk, the cover's elaborate die-cut packaging was so expensive that factory records lost money on every copy. Now I'm putting together Blue Monday using an Oberheim DX because I do not have a DMX, but the sounds are close enough. The Moog Source for the bass and the lead, the Juno 60 for the pad, the Logic Pro Mellotron software for the choir pad fades, and some other Logic Pro software for the rest of the sounds. I want to clarify that this is not a 100% loyal recreation, but I will try to get it as close as possible. With that said, let's begin. Okay, so I'm gonna show you really quick how I put together this track by new order. So I'm gonna show you all the elements that I added. I just show you the recording that I did with the DX and the Moog Source and the hardware that I have, the other synths that I have. But I'm going to show you also how I implemented some plugins to this. So for example, from the Moog Source, sounds like this. So let's hear it. I'm going to start adding the plugins that I use for this. All of the plugins actually are included in Logic Pro, so you don't need to buy anything if you're trying or want to recreate this track. I want to mention that this is not exactly as the original song, so I'm just recreating because I use the Moog Source and the DX for this, but the rest is not going to be exactly as the original track, so just keep that in mind. But I think we can get like a very decent version of this song by New Order. Let me show you what I use actually in terms of software. I use the Alchemy here that I'm going to show you for what I use this. For the bass that I think it works really well, then the Big Pulse Waves, the Alchemy, you're going to hear it here. And for this, actually, yeah, I have to modify a little bit of the sound and add some overdrive, some quantic effect, and equalize the sound. This was the most difficult to recreate actually, because it sounds like a harmonica or something like that. So that was probably the less close to the whole song. But I like this one. So as I say, it's not exactly as the original track. So I like the results on this. Also, I modify a little bit the key on this, so keep that in mind as well. I added the digital waves. For this, I added actually an arpeggiator that you can see here. That's the track with, actually, let's hear it without any plugins here. Here you go. Delay. Compressor. Some wah. And microphaser. Which I think it works as well. Very good. I use this guy to recreate the bass from Peter Hook, and I don't have a bass, or I don't have a guitar, so. But the sculpture, actually, this is not like even like a bass sound, as it is like a regular bass synth sound. This is a tweed-picked synth. So let me show it to you with any of the effects. Pedal board, some amp. A lot of effects in this one. So let's hear it with all the track. So here we have this sound. I think it works really well. For the effects in the bridge, that was very rudimentary the way that I did it. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. So I used this Alchemy synth once again. And I used this one and I mixed it with this one. But I also had to do some automation here. And I use some pitch as well. It's not exactly as the original track, but I think it gives the vibe. Let's hear it. And also, we have that kind of bass sound that is the tom of the DX that I lower it down. So let's hear it here. And what I did with this, actually, I just stretched the sound here using the stretcher here. Oh, let me show you. So what I did was just make it longer. Obviously, I don't like it like that. Let's keep it like this. So that's the tom. Something interesting too that I did in this track was the pads in here. Let me show you, go back. Here it is. So for this, I find out that the pad actually was not super... there was something going on with the original track that is like... It seems like there's like different layers. So what I did is to double the sound. Let's go with the Mellotron, and I'm gonna end up this part so we can hear the complete track after this. This was recorded originally with an emulator, so it was a sample, which I think the Mellotron does a good job with that. I added some, just like overdrive. This actually came like that, so I didn't move any of this, but I added some overdrive and just added a little bit of space echo. And now let's listen to the complete track. The legacy of Blue Monday is how it bridged the gap between post-punk and electronic music. A song, part experiment, part accident, and completely revolutionary. What's your take on this song? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more deep dives into how legendary tracks were made, hit that like button, subscribe, and join me for more nostalgic explorations. And thank you so much for all the suggestions of the songs to recreate. I'm working still on that, so soon you will be seeing some of those songs being recreated on Nostalgic Explorer.